What up, everyone? You're listening to another episode here on The Mindful Experiment. Excited to get you on here to listen, to tune in, and so much more. A lot has gone on. Social media has been blown up with the whole Will Smith, Chris Rock joke thing, the slap heard around the world, all that stuff, right? And I'm not here to share opinions or share what I think. I think don't allow things in the media and in the world to distract you from what it is that you want to continue moving forward with and what you want to focus your energy on, right? Because you can give your energy to that, which only empowers them more. And you lose out in that process. And it's a mental process that we need to really be aware of and pay attention to. So you may say, Doc, that's great, but you're bringing it up. Well, I always look for lessons in life. And sometimes I let the world give me the lessons. And this is a great one that I've talked about so many times. Okay. I've been there. I've gone through this myself, where the chaos within is going to show the chaos outside. Right. And so when you look at someone like Will Smith, obviously there's chaos and turbulence within him. And when you have chaos and turbulence within you, it doesn't take much to get you to go off your kilter. You know, the more, or it's like if you keep repressing things in, right? I wrote in my book called The Walk in the Dark, number one reason why people suffer, or the number cause for all suffering in the world is resistance. Why? Because when you have this resistance, you're stuffing. Well, it's like putting air in, or it's like air in a balloon. You can only fill it up so much. Eventually it's going to burst. You know, they call it a ticking time bomb, right? And this is where you look at in your own life, right? How can we learn from this? How can we grow from this? What can we grasp from it? That's what I care more about. So when I see something, I want to analyze it. I'm going to look at it. But then I'm going to take it wisdom from there, and I'm going to take information from there, and I'm going to learn from it, because it's so much nicer to learn from other people's mistakes rather than your own. And I pray for Will Smith. I love Will Smith. I don't know him personally at all, so I can't say anything about him as a person. The only thing I've been exposed to is him as an actor, and seeing how he talks and his aspect of life and what he wants to thrive and all these other things. I mean, I grew up watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He used to put me to sleep at night, 9:30, 10 o'clock. I used to watch 2 episodes. I think it was 9 or 9:30, but I used to watch an episode or 2 before I went to bed. That's what soothed me as a kid, to go to sleep. So I've loved his movies. I love him in Bad Boys and different movies that he's played. I think he's a great actor. He really is a good actor. And so I appreciate him for being an actor. As a person, don't know anything about him. And I can't comment. I can't say, oh my God, Will Smith is an amazing person. I don't know him personally. All I know him as an actor. And I think that's something that we as humans, who are not part of the celebrity world, have to really remember that. When you see people on stage, they're just putting on a show. When you see people in a movie, they're just putting on a show. They're acting. It's not who they are, right? It's the same thing when you look at people, when you go to a show, or when you see people, public speakers that you like, or someone who's really well known in an industry, or some may be, and everyone goes to watch them, and everyone's, oh my God, I love him. What you're doing is you're idolizing, because that's not really who they are. That's just them presenting something. Like, excuse me, when I'm on stage, when I'm on my podcast doing this, like right now, I'm trying to share something with you of who I am in this person. Am I this? Well, it's a portion of me, and I try to be 100% me. So because I've seen the opposite. I've seen people who speak and how they talk, and man, they memorize you, and it's amazing. You think they're absolutely unbelievable. And then you get to know them, or you get to see their life, or you get to go deeper in. And I'm like, I don't know if I want that. I don't like their values. I don't like this. And it's not that I'm judging them. It just doesn't resonate with me. You got to understand the difference there. For some people who likes really fancy luxurious cars, and they want to have tons of those and all those types of things, like a Rolls Royce, a Bentley, a McLaren, or whatever that may be. Hey, kudos to you. That's not me. That doesn't mean I have something against you or something negative. It's just not what I'd not choose. I'd rather have $100,000 pickup truck that's all souped up and all pimped out than have a fast car. I could care less about that, because I'm a truck guy, right? It's just preferences. It's all it is. But it's one of those things where it's understanding to know understanding that individual. And so me seeing that early on in my career, I was like, I'm going to be me every single time. I'm going to show up as much as I possibly can. So when we look at Will Smith and his actions, it's one of those things where a little joke, whether you're on the fence of looking at that in the perspective of thinking, oh, he needed to defend his wife, and that's why his man stood up and he physically assaulted somebody, and so that's him defending, right? And if you think that's right, that's your job, that's your right. Who cares? And me, I don't care. It's what you think and what you value is what you're going to make that decision on, what you saw. But let's take this a little further. Let's go into the mind. Let's talk about some of the principles I talk on this podcast to help you with your life, right? Because that little joke, That could be your children having upset. If you had a newborn, it's keeping you up at night. Or maybe your job and your boss is not, or you may shortcomings on a job or something with your career. Or it could have been in your business. A hiccup comes up or a fire you have to put out, right? These are all things that happen in life or in your relationship. You have an argument with your spouse or whatever that may be, or your physical health. You've been lacking at it, or you've not been really sticking to it with your diet or your nutrition and so forth. Even in your mindset, you've been listening to more garbage, right? Like something like this and letting it consume you and talk about it in so many different ways rather than, take it into a different perspective or try to keep your mind focused on what it is you want to create. So these things happen to us all the time. So it's not like what happened at Will Smith and what's happened there with a joke. It is really, you can take that and you can put it across your life and you can see it in many elements. Now, the reason why people will explode or people will let things take most of them is because, again, like I said, your internal world dictates your external world. Okay. So if you have chaos within, it doesn't take much to throw things off and make this happen. Let's use nature for an example, because I always love going to nature because it really gives us a lot of great lessons. So if you don't know how tornadoes are made, I only know this because I used to be deathly afraid of them. Now I think they're amazing spectrums, and I don't ever want to be around near one because they're just so powerful. I mean, they can literally take straw of hay, and the speed of that tornado can actually put it through a 2x4, or it'll stick into a 2x4. I'm like, yeah, nope, don't need to be near those. But tornadoes are very fascinating. And I was like, how do tornadoes really happen? Well, you have to understand how hail production happens, because hail goes in a spiral like this, and it keeps circulating and circulating and circulating, and then eventually loses a spot and it comes down. So that's kind of what happens with hail, right? So think about that having the chaos within you, okay? So you're just creating hail within you. Well, eventually, a little speed wind of a turbulence will spin the mechanism going this way and flip it to go this way. Now, what do you think happens? That creates a tornado. And so what that does is anything in the outside with the turbulence you have within is going to spin that off and make you spin off and react. Okay. This is when signs of this, when you know you've been doing too much, or you've burned up your reserves within, you're not as resilient to stress, or you're burnt out, is you're triggered very quickly. You're sharp. You react very quickly to things. Or sometimes you just explode, right? These are all signs that you need to take some time to slow down because you have too much chaos with it. And so it's one of the things that I've talked about so many times is that if you do not, right, if you allow others to dictate your behaviors, which means as you react to other people, what they do, say, be, or whatever it may be, then who's the one in control? At the end of the day, it's not you, it's the outside. It's the thing, it's the person, it's whatever it may be. And you're allowing them to control you. And what happens is now you all of a sudden, what you want to create, what you like to experience in your life, it's not going to happen, or it's minimized, and it's going to take longer, and it's going to be harder because you're distracted by giving your power away to other people or other things. This is why when you lose your balance or your peace, right, your inner calm or peace, when it comes to your life and what you're doing and how you're seeing things, and you let someone disturb that, now you just got derailed. You took a detour from what you're trying to create. And it's going to take some time, depending on how severe that is, to either pull you back or some things along those lines. So when you think about looking at this situation, this is something that you want to really grasp, because this is a slap that was heard across the world. Everyone that I know on social media was talking about. I didn't even know about it because I don't watch TV. I don't watch those things. And it was one of those things where a friend sent me a video. He knows I like Will Smith. And he's like, dude, you'll never believe what happened. Check this out. Somebody just got smacked like crazy. I'm going, no, this is a joke. And then I looked and I'm like, oh my God. Now, whether it's staged or not, that's not my opinion. That's not for me to figure out. Doesn't even matter to me. The key thing is what I'm taking from this, because I'm choosing what I want to look at and look at this in different ways, is for me, it's just looking at the picture and saying, wow, this is pretty interesting. This is an individual who definitely has some things going on. And then I was like, somebody said, hey, listen to his speech. So I listened to the speech and I was like, yeah, there's a lot going on there, right? And again, it just totally resides in what I always talk about. The chaos within, you're going to have chaos without. And so the key concept here now is, so we talked all about this. We talked about these principles. You see this, right? You could probably see this in your life. You can see this in business. You can see this in your personal life. You can see this in relationships, right? These things are there. Now, what can you do to calm the fire? What can you do to keep the fire down and keep your inner peace? How do you can keep your focus back? And I've talked about this 1,000 times on this podcast, and that's going to be meditation, breath work, gratitude journal writing, something along those lines, taking a cold shower. These are principles and tools that you can use. These are just tools, right? They're not here to fix something. They're not here to correct something. All it does is resets you a little bit so you can reground yourself and get recentered. That's what they do. And there's tons of different meditations. There's tons of different breathwork sessions. There's tons of different things that you can do. So that's what I look at and do for myself as much as possible. Am I human? Absolutely. Do I get like Will Smith? No, I won't physically assault somebody, but do my emotions get the best of me sometimes? Do I get a little short sometimes, maybe with my wife, or maybe I'm a little hard on myself, or have that negative inner critic or some things like that going on? Yeah, I'm human. I go through those too. I have my own ways that I have to process. But what do? I reset. I'll meditate a little more. Or maybe I'll do some breath work to really reset my nervous system. Sometimes I'll take a jump a cold shower. So that way it really just, I always tell people, if you do a cold shower or you jump in a cold plunge, at least 30 seconds to a minute, I'm talking cold water, like really cold. It's almost impossible. I'd say it is, but nothing's impossible. So it's almost impossible to not come out of there in a better mood. It's almost impossible to not come out of there feeling actually better, to feeling refreshed. It's just almost not impossible. And the reason why is because cold acts as a massive threat to the nervous system. It's a shock. It shocks your nervous system. And so whatever you were thinking about, whatever that you were focusing on, stressing about, that's gone. It's not there because you have to focus on survival. There's a massive shock going on in the nervous system. The brain's like, forget that, we're going here. And so that's one of the little mind hacks or neuro hacks or whatever you want to call it, to shift your neurology and shift your perspective to help you get away and recenter. And the key thing about life is we're always going to be pulled away. It's going to happen. It happens to me all the time. It happens to everybody. I was listening to Jim Rohn, and he was talking about sometimes people are going to throw sugar in your coffee, and sometimes they're going to throw asinine. No, anyhow, cyanide. Let's just say cyanide. I don't remember exactly what it was, but something that's going to kill you. And so he's like, every day you have somebody putting something in your coffee. You don't know what it is, but that you know that there's always going to be something that's going to kill a little bit of yourself. And what he meant by that was that those are struggles. Those are the challenges you're going to face. They're always going to be there, and they come from everyone. So sometimes it's your spouse, sometimes it's your friends, sometimes it's the family, sometimes it's business, sometimes it's your own thinking, sometimes it's something. Sometimes it's just sugar and it's fine. You're going to be perfectly okay. And sometimes it's not. And you're going to have to work through it. That's part of life. I wrote a whole book on this called The Walk in the Dark to really help empower people when it comes to these kind of things. Because at the end of the day, it's one of these principles that we want to really, to get better at handling these changes in dance, and to be truthfully honest to you guys, when I was younger, I always thought that once you get to a certain level, there's no more stress and you can just enjoy life and everything's just beautiful. And I tried to acquire that. It took me 5 years, struggling to go there. And when I did get to what I thought was going to be that, I really looked and said, oh my God, there's actually more to this. And this never ends. And so I had to make a choice. And that was either to succumb to life and just say, this sucks, which some people, it's okay. Right. Or I made a choice and said, well, I'm gonna have to learn how to dance better than this. Life is a dance, right? That's what everyone ever says. And if you ever taken up dancing, especially like Latin dance, there's a lot of leading and guiding and feeling and motions and all those kind of things. And it's one of those processes that that's kind of life. Life sometimes is going to give you a little bit. It's going to say, hey, I'm taking your hand. I'm leading you today. You're going to have to learn how to go with the flow, have faith and trust, right? And there's sometimes where I can take the lead and say, God, this or the universe, whatever, I'm going to do this. I feel really good about this. Let me take the lead on this. And it's like, okay, cool. I got you. I'm going to guide with you and help you in that process. And so that's really the beauty of life, because at the end of the day, if there's a truth I can share with you before we wrap this up today, is that the universe is always giving and bringing things to you, maybe something or people or circumstances to you to help you grow and evolve, because as a soul, we never stop evolving. We're always in a state of progress, and progress means that it's never complete. We're always continually improving. Right. And so that's us as a soul. That's why we live forever. That's why we are eternal. That's why we're infinite energy. But the beautiful thing as humans is we also have that drive. We have that drive within to continue to move, to grow and evolve. Right. So no matter how well you master something, this is why I don't like using the word expert a lot. I'm not a big fan. I'll use it maybe just because of marketing purposes. But if you ever have a conversation with me, I don't like the word, because an expert is someone who's the first person that's going to say no to you. An expert is someone who thinks they know it all. Right. They're very left brain, logical, very constructed into a little box. What I know about spiritual truth is that you can go as far as deep in anything, and there's never an end. So when I think I master something, I can go deeper into it. Now, it may be little tweaks here and there, but those little tweaks take me to a whole nother level. And I learned this from athletes, studying Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, or even Michael Phelps when he won the 8 gold medals. And after that, he was starting to train for the next thing. Like he didn't even stop. Like it didn't even phase him. He's like, I got to keep practicing. I got to get better. Right. It's those final little tweaks. I mean, Stephen Curry, one of as I study him more, I really like him as a basketball player. He's one of my top 5. And the reason why is because it's his worth ethic that he does. Like when guys are playing video games, hanging out, like just not practicing as much, he'll be practicing his dribbling skills, practicing his shooting, and so much more. And I highly recommend if you get to see him playing basketball, you can see, even if you don't like the sport, just watch. Because for me, I don't really care about the sport. I just like watching greatness and watching and see how they do things and how they live their life. Because if I see someone who's really, really good, like a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers, I want to study them. I want to study their mindset because that's where everything is. Because you can have someone who eats like Tom Brady, who exercises like Tom Brady, who can do all that stuff, but it's here, right? It's all in mindset, and that's what I've learned over the years, and that's what intrigued me about mindset many years ago. But it's the thing that you understand that the universe is always there to support you and always bring things to you to help you level up. And as long as you understand that and you have the faith to know the universe will always support you and you're open to that, you'll always get what you need. You always will. There's never a loss in life. And so that's what I got for you guys today. So the slap heard around the world, hopefully this was some deep insight to help you kind of just look at your life a little bit and reflect in, right? A lot of people are judging out, and those are the people on the stands. I want you to get on the court. I want you to see that and say, how am I somewhat like that? Because you are, and so am I. Yeah, I may not be physically assaulting somebody, but we do have those things in us, and it's just being aware and how to make those shifts and so much. So that's what I got for you guys today. As always, I appreciate y'all, and until next time, keep rocking and rolling.